Hello, everyone, and welcome to Stories to Listen to in the Background.
Am I the asshole for always kicking my boyfriend out? My boyfriend and I have been together since February 2020. Back then, we were both 19, and now we're 26. I'm currently pregnant with our first child. We grew up very differently. He grew up extremely poor. His house didn't have running water, electricity, or even a proper toilet. He never had to worry about paying bills. In the beginning, we were very happy. We didn't really argue, just small fights like any normal couple. But overall, we were okay. In 2021, I started sleeping at his house more often. He tried to fix the place up for me, and eventually I was there almost every night. We used to bathe outside and buy gas for his generator. Life was simple, but at the time, I didn't mind. He works in construction, but throughout all the years we've been together, he has barely worked. At first, I blamed it on the pandemic, but later I realized he simply doesn't really want to work. I never pressured him too much because he would always find small jobs here and there to make a little money. He once told me he had a car, but I never saw it because he said he didn't want me to see it in bad condition. I even gave him money to fix it, but I still never saw the car. Eventually, he told me he had sold it. Later, I got my own car so I could go to work and school. I would let him drive me sometimes. At one point, he crashed the car, and it took forever to get it fixed. In the end, I had to use my own money to repair it. We eventually moved into my family's home so my rent wouldn't be too expensive. I never asked him to help pay the bills because I could manage them myself. When I did ask him for help, he would only give part of the money and never the full amount. Somehow, I always managed to keep everything under control. He also didn't have proper documentation. I drove him around to appointments, paid for things he needed in order to get his documents, and kept track of everything for him. Despite that, he still tells me that I never do anything for him. We don't go on dates, we don't travel, we don't exchange gifts, we don't really do anything together, even though I've told him many times that I would like us to start doing those things. Last year, I even paid for us to go on vacation. The only thing he needed to do was bring spending money. The day before our flight, he told me he didn't think he could go because he didn't have enough money. So I ended up going on the trip by myself, and later my sister joined me. He says he loves me, but sometimes I just don't believe it because of his actions. At the same time, a part of me still feels like he might love me. I've also noticed that he always puts his family before me. I don't necessarily mind that, but sometimes I tell him that he needs to put me first too. I've been there for him when he had nothing. I've even bailed him out of jail multiple times because his family doesn't have stable jobs or enough money to help him. We bought a new mattress together once, and he ended up burning it, even though I paid for half of it. The car he bought also became another issue. Even though he owed it to me, he would constantly take it back whenever he wanted, because technically he bought it. We've had many huge arguments. Sometimes I get so frustrated that I pack his things and tell him to leave because he doesn't pay bills and doesn't have a job. At that point, having him around starts to feel pointless. But whenever we make up again, he throws it back in my face and says that I kicked him out when he had nowhere to go. Most of our fights are about money. I've given him countless amounts of money because I believed that when he earned it back, he would repay me. Instead, he would sometimes just take money without even asking. Recently, he told me to stop working because I'm pregnant, but he barely gives me any money and leaves me at home all day until he returns with food. Yesterday, we had another big fight. He told me to take $235 and said that would be money for me. I never officially accepted it, but it was lying around in the house. I spent about $150 of it, and he immediately started complaining. I got tired of the constant arguments and told him he needed to leave. He started saying he doesn't care whether I eat or not, that I don't do anything for him, and that he doesn't want to be around me. At the same time, he tells me he's tired of me kicking him out and somehow makes me feel like I'm the one in the wrong. I love him, but I don't know how much more of this I can handle. Last night, he left with his things, but he still came back later just to sleep. I'm not a confrontational person. I just want him to leave me alone. He says he doesn't want to be around me anymore, but somehow he never actually leaves.
I accidentally flirted with a girl to stop her from fighting me over her boyfriend. A few days ago, my best friend from college told me she had a huge crush on this really cute guy from another department. And because I apparently have friends in every department, like some kind of unofficial campus detective, she assigned me the mission of finding information about him. So I asked her to take me to the place where he usually hangs out. She dragged me to a corridor where he was standing with a group of his friends. She pointed him out. And the moment I saw him, I had one single thought. Why did he look like Stuart Little to me? Anyway, standing right next to him was this girl who was giving me the most aggressive side-eye I had ever experienced. I mean, the kind of side-eye that makes you feel like she has already killed you 100 times in her head. So I told my friend I would gather some information, and we moved on. Now here's where things started to get weird, like really weird. Over the next few days, more than 10 of my friends came to me confessing they had a crush on this really cute guy and asked me to find out if he was single. And every single time, it was Stuart Little. And every single time, Side-Eye Girl was right there next to him. Eventually, I found out the truth. Stuart Little and Side-Eye Girl were actually in a relationship, so I informed my friends. They mourned their imaginary romance for about half a day, then immediately moved on to new crushes, because honestly, it's pathetic to chase someone else's boyfriend. End of story, right? Wrong. Yesterday, I was sitting alone in the cafeteria, minding my own business, when I suddenly saw Side-Eye Girl marching toward me like she was about to declare war. I could see the rage in her eyes, and with every step she took, I swear the temperature in the room was rising. She walked up to my table and slammed her hand down on it. I ignored her. She just stood there. We had this awkward, silent staring contest for a few seconds. Finally, I calmly said, "Sit down." Because if this turned into some department-wide drama, I did not want to be responsible for it. My HOD had already warned me twice not to create any more chaos on campus. So she sat down, still furious, still glaring. Our conversation went something like this. Side-Eye Girl, are you after my boyfriend? Me, no. Weren't you staring at him these past few days? Me, no. Don't lie, I've caught you looking at us multiple times. And this was the exact moment when my survival instincts kicked in. Instead of choosing peace, instead of choosing logic, I chose chaos. So I said, yes, I was looking at you guys, but I wasn't looking at him. She paused. What do you mean? And then I said, I was looking at you, baby girl. I got lost in your beauty. Silence. Complete system shutdown. She went from furious girlfriend to flustered and confused in about 0.2 seconds. Out of every response she expected, that was definitely not on the list. She suddenly got shy, didn't know what to say, and just like that, the confrontation completely dissolved. And that is how I accidentally flirted my way out of a potential campus war.
My school tried to kick me out. I was in year 10, in the final stretch of high school. I attended a public high school in Australia. One day, I was in the library, just minding my own business and catching up on some schoolwork. I had been sitting there quietly for about 2 hours, not talking to anyone and not leaving my seat. I was literally one word away from finishing my paragraph. And then, boom, the fire alarm went off. Now, here's the strange part. I was the only person in the library, and there wasn't even a fire alarm installed in there. So I was just sitting there, still working, trying to finish that last sentence. Out of nowhere, Mrs. Leeton suddenly came rushing toward me like the Flash. I didn't even notice her until she was right in my face. She shouted, "Go to the principal's office right now." I didn't argue. I packed everything into my pencil case, closed my notebook, and walked straight to the principal's office. I knocked on the door. "Come in," he said. I walked in, sat down, and started wondering what exactly I had done wrong. Then, the principal looked at me and said, "Mate, did you not hear the fire alarm?" I looked at him and shook my head. He continued, "Well, your class had no idea where you were. We called your name over the speakers and no one could find you. Would you like to explain yourself?" So I said, "Yes, sir. Mrs. Patty gave me permission to use that period to finish my work. I stayed in the library the whole time and completed everything until Mrs. Leeton came in and yelled at me. Also, there isn't even a fire alarm in the library." I paused for a moment and added, "I'm sorry." The principal looked at me for a second and then said, "Well, that's no excuse." And then he said something I never expected. "You're expelled."
My office took a coffee mug way too seriously, and somehow I became the villain. Every office has that one tiny thing that somehow turns into a huge deal. In my case, it was a coffee mug. Not a fancy mug, not a limited edition collector's item, just a normal mug I had been using for years. Blue, slightly chipped on the handle, and emotionally responsible for about 80% of my morning motivation. One morning, I walked into the kitchen ready for my daily cup of survival juice, and the mug was gone. Now look, I'm not the type of person who causes drama. I'm the kind of person who says sorry when someone else bumps into me. If someone steals my parking spot, I just sit there quietly and rethink my life choices. But this mug disappearing felt personal. So I did what any calm, reasonable adult would do. I wrote a note and stuck it next to the coffee machine. It said, "Whoever borrowed the blue mug with the chipped handle, I hope the coffee tastes amazing. Please return it so my motivation to work can also return." Simple, polite, maybe slightly dramatic, but nothing crazy. I figured someone would read it, laugh, and just put the mug back. Instead, the entire office treated it like the beginning of a true crime documentary. By lunchtime, people were standing in the kitchen discussing the mug situation. Someone even asked if the security cameras covered that area. Security cameras for a mug. By the next day, coworkers started labeling their own mugs like they were museum exhibits. One mug had a sticky note that said, "Not the mug." Another one said, "I was never here." At one point, I walked into the kitchen and two people immediately stopped talking the second I entered, like I'd just interrupted them planning a heist. I kept trying to tell everyone it was just a joke, but by then, the story had already grown legs and started running laps around the entire office. 3 days later, a guy from accounting slowly approached my desk. He looked around like we were about to exchange classified information. Then he quietly placed my mug on the table. He borrowed it during a late meeting, he said. "I didn't know it was your mug." I stared at him for a second and said, "My mug?" "Yeah," he replied, "the famous one." Famous. My slightly chipped blue mug had somehow become a celebrity. Now, the weirdest part is this. Ever since that week, nobody touches anyone's mug in the office. We have an unspoken agreement now. You can take someone's chair, you can take their stapler, you can even take their parking spot, but you do not mess with the mugs.
It all began the day I decided to run away from home. Something deep inside me kept telling me that I wasn't safe there. Even before that moment, strange things had already started happening. I would sometimes see flashes of events before they occurred, small moments at first, conversations I somehow seemed to know in advance, situations that unfolded exactly the way I had already imagined them. At first, I dismissed it as coincidence, but eventually it became impossible to ignore. The more attention I paid to it, the more it felt like there was something operating beneath the surface of normal life. Slowly, I began to believe that I had stumbled onto something far bigger, something that felt almost like a hidden network. Sometimes it even felt like a cult. It seemed as if people around me were somehow connected to it. And the most unsettling part was the feeling that it wasn't only people involved. There were forces I couldn't explain, entities whose presence I could sense but never fully understand. When I finally decided to run away, everything escalated. The threats began almost immediately. Clear warnings appeared suggesting that leaving was not an option. Subtle messages that trying to escape would lead to consequences I might not survive. Fear slowly became part of my everyday life. During this time, I also discovered something that deeply shook my sense of identity. Through fragments of information and comments people made around me, I began to believe that I might be connected to something much larger than I had ever known. At the same time, I started feeling as if my own body had somehow been compromised. My thoughts, my words, even the things I saw began to feel manipulated. It was as if everything I experienced could be altered, reframed, and shown to others with completely different meanings attached to it. Reality itself began to feel unstable. What frightened me even more was noticing a pattern. On the rare occasions when someone seemed willing to help me or stand by my side, something would always happen. Suddenly, they would disappear from my life. They would distance themselves, or something would occur that made it impossible for them to stay involved. It felt as if an invisible warning had been delivered, as if helping me came with consequences. Anyone hearing this would naturally ask how something like this could even be possible. The only clues I ever found were scattered references online, documents, rumors, and discussions that seemed to connect powerful groups to things most people would consider impossible. Some people even claimed that hidden truths about these entities were buried within files connected to powerful figures. I don't know how much of it is real. All I know is that somewhere behind everything that has happened, there seems to be a powerful group, and sometimes it feels like I'm trapped inside their world. Every day I feel watched, my phone, my movements, everything monitored. And the most terrifying realization is this: escaping them may be far more difficult than I ever imagined.
My ex broke into my house to try to ruin my relationship. Back in 2010, I had just become a legal adult. I had my first real job, my first apartment, and my first serious relationship. Before that, I'd had small crushes and short relationships in school, but my family moved around a lot, so nothing ever really lasted. The problem was, I had no real example of what a healthy relationship looked like growing up. So, naturally, I chose a terrible partner. That one's on me. I didn't know any better. To keep things short, he treated me badly, and there are honestly too many incidents to explain everything he did. But here are a few examples so you understand what I was dealing with. He would delete certain text messages from our conversations to make it look like I was constantly bothering him. Then he would show people the messages and act like I was needy or crazy. Sometimes he would say or do something specifically to provoke a reaction from me. Even if I didn't react the way he expected, he would immediately text his friends and make up stories about how I had reacted, describing me as jealous, clingy, dramatic, or unintelligent. When I confronted him about it and demanded he be honest with the people he was talking to, he later claimed he only did it because he felt unsafe in the relationship and that I forced him to say those things. He would also destroy clothes that I loved. Sometimes he would put huge cuts or tears in them. Other times he would roughly rip them while I was wearing them, then apologize profusely and act like it was an accident. But strangely, it only ever happened to the clothes I liked the most. Other times, he would claim the washer and dryer had mysteriously ruined my clothes. Another thing he did was hide my keys. I always kept my keys clipped to my purse with a carabiner, but somehow they would constantly disappear. I would spend hours, sometimes even days, searching for them. I would have to take taxis or ask for rides just to get to work. Then, suddenly, the keys would appear in a very obvious place I had already checked. Sometimes on the dining table, sometimes in the couch cushions, even though I had already torn the couch apart looking for them. The strange thing was, this never happened when he was out of town visiting family or traveling for work. But when he was home, it happened almost weekly. And while I was frantically searching, he barely helped and instead criticized me, telling me I needed to get my life together and that I was sloppy and disorganized. Eventually, I bought a small key tracker, one of those devices that beeps when you press a button so you can find your keys. I didn't tell him about it because by that point, I already had serious suspicions. One day, when my keys disappeared again, I pressed the tracker button. The beeping sound came from his pocket. He had absolutely no reason to have my keys, and I had just spent 15 minutes searching for them. He had no explanation, so eventually I broke up with him, and he did not take that well. He started doing strange things. He would show up unannounced, pounding on my doors and windows. He would text me saying he had accidentally sent packages to my address and needed to pick them up. He begged me to get back together with him, but honestly, it felt like he only wanted that so he could be the one to break up with me instead. I went completely no contact with him, but the behavior continued. My dining room window faced an alley that was rarely used. One night, I was sitting at the dining room table using my computer when suddenly he appeared outside the window and started trying to rip the screen open to break in. The moment he saw that I was recording him, he ran away. I showed the video to the police. They basically said nothing had been damaged and that he hadn't successfully entered the house. They told me to call them again if he actually broke in. After that, I didn't feel safe living there anymore, so I moved. I also started a new job and a new relationship. Things were finally going really well, and because I had changed my phone number and address, I thought I had finally found some peace. But then I started noticing something strange. I kept seeing a truck on the freeway that looked like his. It happened multiple times, but it was a fairly common truck, and it was always far enough away that I couldn't clearly see who was driving. So I told myself I was probably just being paranoid. Then, weird things started happening in my house. I would come home and lights would be on that I was sure I had turned off. One time, a beer was missing from the fridge. My couch pillows would be slightly rearranged. A blanket I kept on the couch would be folded differently than how I left it. At first, I tried to explain it away. My couch sat under a large bay window, so I thought maybe my dog had jumped up to look outside and messed things up. But that didn't explain everything else. Eventually, it started creeping me out. I honestly started wondering if my house was haunted, or if maybe a maintenance worker had been entering while I was gone. So my boyfriend suggested I stay with him for a few days, and we set up some cameras inside my house. He even took the weekend off work to help me. On Saturday, we hid the cameras around the house. Then, on Sunday evening, we left for his place. We spent the entire weekend together, which is important. Normally, Mondays were when my boyfriend came over to my place, because that was his usual day off. I got off work around 6:30, and we would spend time at my house. But that Monday, I actually left work early because I hurt my back. And out of nowhere, my boyfriend received a strange message on Facebook. He almost never used Facebook, so getting a message from a complete stranger was unusual. The message came from a brand new profile with no photos. The person claimed that he had spent all of Saturday night and Sunday morning at my house. According to him, I had met him on a dating app and invited him over. He said he noticed I clearly had a boyfriend because of the items in my house. As proof, he said he had left a specific videotape inside my VCR and placed his business card inside the tape case so my boyfriend could contact him. He apologized and said he felt terrible being the one to tell him that I was cheating. There was only one problem with that story. My boyfriend and I had spent the entire weekend together. Feeling unsafe, my boyfriend went to my house to check. And sure enough, there was a VHS tape inside my VCR. And inside the case was my ex-boyfriend's business card. We grabbed the cameras and brought them back to my boyfriend's place to review the footage. This was years ago, so these weren't fancy security cameras, just cheap cameras we bought from CVS. They weren't Wi-Fi enabled, so we had to connect them to a computer to see the footage. And when we did, we saw my ex climbing through one of my windows, a window I was absolutely sure I had locked. He walked around my house for hours. He ate my food, he opened the silverware drawer and licked every piece of silverware. Then he put the VHS tape into the VCR and placed his business card inside the case. All of it recorded. My boyfriend decided to call him while secretly recording the conversation. He pretended he had just found the tape and card and acted confused. He told my ex that I was at work and would be home soon. My ex told him that we used to date and that I had found him again on a dating app and invited him over. He claimed he didn't realize I had a boyfriend until he got there and felt terrible afterward. He said he was currently at lunch and couldn't talk much, but that he was very sorry. I took the footage to the police. My boyfriend also gave them the recording of the phone call. The police immediately said they couldn't use the phone recording because my ex didn't know he was being recorded. They questioned my ex, and then they told me it was basically a he said, she said situation. My ex told them he still had access to my house because he had left keys there before. He claimed he had entered through the window before for that reason, and that I was fully aware of it. He even told the police that we were still dating and that I was cheating on him with my new boyfriend, despite the fact that my boyfriend clearly explained that my ex did not live there and did not have permission to enter. Even with the video footage of him breaking in, the police treated it like a relationship dispute and refused to get involved. And it got worse.
My ex began telling everyone that I made up this story about him breaking in because he rejected me when I invited him over. Even when I posted the actual footage online, he told people the videos were old and that we had recorded them together for a casting audition. He claimed I was using them out of context to make him look bad. And the worst part? People believed him. It took multiple women going through similar experiences with him, lawsuits, broken marriages, and years of manipulation before people finally started believing what I had gone through. Eventually, he died. But even up until the week he passed away, I was still receiving emails and messages from brand new social media accounts. Sometimes they insulted me. Sometimes they bragged about his new relationships. Sometimes they begged me to give him another chance. Sometimes they sent me times and locations to meet him, saying he would never give up hope that I would show up. Funny thing is, for all the times he denied sending those messages, in the year and a half since he died, I haven't received a single one.
My coworker kept forgetting his wallet at lunch, so I started tracking everything. There's this guy at work, let's call him Dan. A group of us from the department go to lunch together about 3 or 4 times a week, and somehow, Dan forgets his wallet all the time. In the past 2 months alone, he's probably forgotten it at least 15 times. Every time it happens, he says the same thing. "Hey man, can you cover me? I'll Venmo you later." Sometimes he sends like $8 3 days later. Most of the time, he sends nothing. Now look, I'm not rich. I make about $52K a year, and I live in a pretty expensive city. I really can't afford to be buying this guy lunch twice a week. I mentioned it to him a few times, just casually, like, "Hey man, you still owe me for Tuesday." He'd say, "Oh yeah, my bad, I'll send it right now." And then he wouldn't. So eventually, I decided to start tracking everything. I began putting all my spending into a finance app called MoneyGPT. One day, I asked it to show me how much I'd been spending on lunch. The app broke everything down by date and amount, and that's when I realized something. I had been covering Dan's meals constantly. The total? $186 in just 2 months. So I took a screenshot of the breakdown. Then I sent it to him on Slack with one simple message. "Hey, so you owe me this." He got so mad. He said I was being petty, that it was weird to track something like that, and that it was just lunch money. So I told him, if it's just lunch money, then you can Venmo me $186, and we're good. He sent me $50, and then said that was all he was paying because some of those are probably wrong. They weren't. I literally had the transactions. But here's the funny part. Now, whenever we go to lunch and Dan reaches for his wallet and says, "Oh man, I think I left it at my desk," I just pull out my phone and say loudly, "No worries, I'll just add it to the previous list," right in front of everyone. And suddenly, Dan remembers his wallet every single time. He's now paid for his own lunch 8 days in a row. So I guess the mission worked. He barely talks to me anymore, but at least I'm not funding his burrito habit anymore.
Something that happened in my life. When I was about 12 or 13 years old, my older brother and my younger brother both had basketball practice at this old gym in a small town. I didn't play basketball at the time, but I always went with them anyway. They were my brothers, and I'm the middle child, so I usually just tagged along. One day while I was there, I noticed one of my classmates hanging out at the playground with another guy I didn't recognize. So I walked over, said hello, and we had a normal conversation. Nothing serious, just being friendly. After a while, I left the playground and started walking back to the gym. The playground was next to the school building, so to get back, I had to walk behind the school. As I was walking, I started hearing this clanking sound. It sounded like something hitting the air conditioning unit. At first, I thought maybe something had gotten stuck in it, but then I realized what was actually happening. Those 2 guys were throwing rocks at me from a distance, and not small rocks either. The strange part is that when I realized what was going on, I stopped for a second and looked back. But I didn't run. I just kept walking, and they kept throwing rocks the entire time while I walked back toward the gym. Now, here's the funny part. Their aim was terrible. I mean, really terrible. I was clearly in their line of sight, and somehow they still couldn't hit me even once. Did I get angry? Not really. Honestly, I just thought it was kind of sad. I had just been over there talking to them and being friendly, and they were out there throwing rocks like idiots. But the thing that stayed with me the most wasn't the rocks. It was the lesson I learned that day. You can't be friendly with everybody. And the weirdest part? After that day, that same classmate would still come up to me and shake my hand whenever he saw me. Just a normal, "What's up?" greeting, like nothing had ever happened. We never talked about it, but I never forgot it.
If you enjoy this kind of content, make sure to subscribe.